Hi YouTube! In this video I want to show you the Zopo ZP952, also known as the Speed 7 Plus. I got this phone from the Zopo mobile shop and it was delivered from their European warehouse, so I didn't have to worry about taxes or customs at all. Anyway, it comes in a very stylish box like this one. It has some specs on the back that are not 100% correct. For example, it says right here that it's clocked at 1.5 GHz, which is not true. It also comes with some earphones that I never tested. Also included is a micro USB data and charging cable. Of course, it also comes with a wall charger, and this is a 1 amp wall charger. And last but not least, it also comes with some paperwork, including a multi-language quick start guide. This phone has a 5.5 inch capacitive 5-point multi-touch screen with a 1080 by 1920 Full HD pixel resolution. It is an IPS display, but I'm not 100% sure if it's a one-glass solution or not. It has the MT6753 64-bit Octa-Core SoC clocked at 1.3 GHz. It has 3 GB of RAM, 16 GB of internal memory, and it also supports TF cards up to 64 GB at least. Right now it is running on Android 5.1 Lollipop. It is a Quadband, it is totally unlocked, and of course it also supports 3G and 4G. It has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, AGPS, it also supports GLONASS and Baidu. It has a G sensor, a proximity sensor, a light sensor, a magnetic field sensor, and it also has a notification LED, but it supports red only. It also supports USB on the go and firmware updates over the air. It has hot nod, it has off-screen gestures and air gestures. It has two cameras, one main camera with a 13 megapixel output, autofocus and LED flash, and it's an f2.2. And a selfie cam with a 5 megapixel output, and it's an f2.8. This phone is a dual SIM, dual standby phone. It weighs about 167 grams and it's about 9 mm thick. Let's take a closer look at the device. We have a notification and charging LED right here, but it only supports red. We have a proximity and light sensor and the selfie cam right here. The buttons are on-screen buttons. On the bottom we can see that it has the micro USB port and a microphone right here, and nothing on the left. Now, as you can see, the frame looks pretty stylish, but I can tell you right away that it's all plastic. On the top we can find a 3.5mm headphone jack. On the right side we have a power button and a volume rocker, and again those buttons are all plastic. On the back we can see it has the main camera right here and an LED flash, a Zopo logo, and the media speaker is right here. And if I can get this open for you, I can show you the inside of the phone. On the inside we can see that it takes two micro SIM cards. This is your TF card slot, and this is a 3000 mAh battery. Like always, I installed additional apps and games for demonstration purposes. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment sections below. And if you'd like to find out more, please stay tuned. The ZUI launcher looks pretty much like a stock Android launcher. It is quite fast and snappy, but the firmware wasn't exactly 100% clean. Now please don't get me wrong, there was absolutely no Chinese bloatware installed, but it did come with a bunch of apps that I either uninstalled or disabled. Stuff like Facebook, for example, or WhatsApp and Twitter. I'd rather install these apps all by myself, and it also has a bunch of Google apps that I didn't need, which I disabled, but I will show you which apps I disabled in a second. Let's start by going into the settings. Let's scroll all the way down and check out about the phone to show you which firmware I have running right now. As you can see, it is running on Android 5.1, and we also find the wireless updates right here. And this definitely works because I already got a firmware update over the air since I got this phone. Back into the settings, let's check out the languages and input. Let's see which languages are pre-installed on this firmware version. Let me just scroll through them. Please feel free to pause any second to check if your native language is supported or not. There we have it, back into the settings. Next up we can see that it has a smart wake feature right here. Now this is pretty cool. You can double tap to wake the screen, or you can draw different symbols to start different apps. Let's just give it a try. Let's do a double tap and it's waking up. And again, let's draw a C to start the camera app, and it's working just fine. There we have it, there's the camera. Back into the settings. Next up we have some gesture sensing. Now those are air gestures, so you can swipe above the proximity sensor to control some of the apps, like the gallery, camera and music apps, and the launcher. You have a flip to mute and stuff like that. To me this is total bullshit. I'm never gonna use that. Next up, let's check out the apps, and let me scroll all the way to the right. And here you can see which apps I've disabled. Now those are mainly Google apps that I do not use. I really don't know why they put those apps into the firmware. I'd rather install all these apps all by myself. Let's check out the storage, and here's the good news. The entire storage is available for apps and games, so there are no partitions, and we can also see that it supports USB on the go right there, but I will check that later. Let's check the display settings. Right here we can find a Mira Vision or Myra Vision, tomatoes, styler, kernel zap, whatever, you know what I mean. Right here we can set, for example, a dynamic contrast, which is always nice to have. Let's go back into the settings. The display settings are covered. Let's see what else do we have here. We can see that it supports hotnod, which is something similar to NFC, but not really. It only works on MediaTek devices, and to me it's pretty useless. Let's go into more settings. Let's go into cellular networks, and right here we can see that we can choose the preferred network type for 4G, 3G and 2G. And as you can see, when I set one SIM card to be the data SIM card, the second SIM card will be 2G only, which is normal. Back into the settings, of course we can also go into the SIM card settings. Right here we can set which one of the SIM cards is supposed to be the data SIM card, and we can also choose different colors for the SIM cards. To some people this is very important. I don't really care, but it's always a nice to have. That should pretty much cover the standard settings. Now let me go into the engineer mode for you. And let's go into band mode and SIM1 to check out the frequencies, and we can see right here that is a quad band. Those are all the supported 3G frequencies, and now let's check out the LTE modes. It supports band 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 and 17, and yay, it also supports band 20, which is fantastic news for people in Europe and some other places around the world. That should cover all the settings. Next up, let's check out some Google apps. Of course, the Play Store comes pre-installed and is working just fine. Let's test Google Maps. Now it knows where I live, so the Google location services are working. Let me just go and load a random Street View address to see if the Street View is working. Let's go into Street View. And Street View is working just fine. We can do a little zooming. And we can also go into a compass mode, so the magnetic field sensor is definitely working on this phone. And let's also check out YouTube. Let me turn down the volume for that. And let's just play a random video. And let me go into the settings to check out the quality. And as we can see, the maximum playback quality is 1080p on this phone. Of course, we can also watch in full screen, and it's working very fine and smoothly. So YouTube is a real pleasure on this phone, no problem at all. Next up, let's see what Antutu has to say. Always takes a second to initialize. And as we can see, it scored close to 34,000 points, which is not a world record, but still very good. Let's check out some information right here. We can see that it's running on Android 5.1. It's a 64-bit. We have the CPU and GPU right here, the screen resolution. We can see that it has 3 GB of RAM, and of course we can also test the multi-touch, and it's a 5-point multi-touch. And when I scroll all the way down, we can check out some of the sensors. Now those are all the supported sensors, but of course I'm gonna check the sensors also with CPU Z. Right here we can see again that it's clocked at 1.3 GHz and it has 8 cores. And again we have all the sensors right here. An accelerometer, proximity sensor, light sensor, orientation sensor and magnetic field sensor. But of course we're also gonna test the sensors. And we go back, we have the accelerometer, also known as the G sensor, and of course it's working fine. We have a light sensor, let's give the light sensor a try, and it's also working great. Next up we have the orientation sensor, also working, no problem at all. We have a proximity sensor, and no surprise here, the proximity sensor is also working fine. No gyroscope sensor. We have a sound sensor, so let's check out if the microphone is working, and it's working fine. And we also have a magnetic field sensor, and it's getting readings. I really don't know how accurate the magnetic field sensor is, but it's definitely working fine. Now what else can I check here? Nowadays stage fright is a problem, so let's check out the stage fright vulnerability, and that is bad news. This phone is vulnerable right now. So let's hope for an update. We can also scan with a different stage fright detector and it will come to the same result. Now the scanning was gonna take a second. Let's wait for it. Let's wait for it, and again it says that it's vulnerable. So we really have to wait for an update to see if the stage fright bug will be fixed or not. Let's test out the Wi-Fi signal strength, and to give you an idea how good or bad the Wi-Fi reception is, let's just compare it to my Xiaomi Mi 4. And as you can see, those readings are pretty much identical. It jumps back and forth. Now from my test, the Wi-Fi on the Zopo is pretty much like the Wi-Fi reception on my Mi 4. So this is very good, no problem with Wi-Fi at all. Let's see, what else do we have here. Let's start Ninamark for a second. I'm not gonna run a test, I'm just gonna show you the result. It's scored at 56.3 frames per second, which is not bad at all at this high screen resolution. And we are going to do one more benchmark test. Let's start Quadron Standard. And let's run a full benchmark, and like always I'm gonna do a jump cut. Almost done. And the score is 17,688 points. So much for the benchmarks. Let's see what else can I show you right here. Let's just go into the gallery app and let's just load my random wallpapers. And they're loading fast, and the zooming is very smooth, no problem at all. And I don't know if you can see this, but the colors and contrast look really cool on this phone. Now I also have a couple of test videos right here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to turn down the volume. Let me turn down the volume. Let me check my test videos. We have a 1080p test video right here, and it's running smoothly. That is no surprise, because this SoC should easily handle full HD resolution videos. But let's go back and let's try a 4K video, and this video is not supported, so 4K video playback is no option with this media player. Let's go back and let's check out the music player. Let me start something I have a license for. Let me turn up the volume to give you an idea how the speaker sounds like. Now to me the sound quality sounds okay. It could be a little louder maybe, and a little more bass, but that is pretty much almost always the case. Let's see, what else do we have here. We can check out the camera app. Now the camera app has pretty much all the standard features that we can expect, like a normal mode We also have a picture-in-picture mode. There you can see me right here. And what else do we have here? We have a live photo mode, and this one is a motion tracking mode. We have a panorama mode, and we also have this cool feature called the multi-angle view, which I really like. Let me try to show you how that works. Let me just try to focus. I don't really have much light here. I'm focusing, and let me take a picture, and now I have to move the camera around. Oh, I really didn't do that very well, but let me try to show you how that looks like. It's still processing, and as you can see, I took a picture from different angles, which is a fun feature, but I guess that's pretty much a standard nowadays on most MediaTek phones. Anything else I can show you? Of course, we can also test the USB on the go. So let me just hook up my USB thumb drive, and let me go into the file manager, and right here we can see that it mounted my external USB storage. Let's just see what we have on here, and let me just load a picture from my thumb drive, and the USB on the go is working just fine. Anyway, I think that pretty much covers the basic things of this phone. Now let me tell you what I'm thinking about this device. Some thoughts about this device. The build quality is okay. It feels quite solid, but it's all plastic, including the buttons, and I really don't like when they paint plastic to look like metal. The display is very nice. A full HD pixel resolution is the way to go on a 5.5-inch device. It is not a high-end display, but I still like it. The performance is okay. Close to 34K on Antutu is not exactly a new world record nowadays, but it should be able to handle pretty much everything you throw at it. 3 GB of RAM is great for multitasking. The Wi-Fi reception is very good. It is pretty much like the Wi-Fi on my Xiaomi Mi 4. The GPS is also very good. It is fast, it is accurate, and thanks to GLONASS and Baidu, it is also very stable. I like that this phone has a notification LED, but I wish it would have more colors. The media speaker audio quality is okay, so is the quality through headphones. To me, it is nothing to get too excited about. The GSM 3G and 4G reception I would rate as normal, nothing good or bad worth mentioning. The sensors seem to be working well. Maybe a gyroscope sensor would have been nice, but I guess that's not really a must-have. The camera picture quality is something you need to judge for yourself. Please make sure to check out some sample pictures on my blog. You can find a link in the video's description. I also like that this phone supports quite a few LTE bands, including band 20. Bottom line, I think this is a nice phone. It does what it's supposed to do, but I simply cannot get too excited about it. To me, this phone is just nothing special, if you know what I mean. But of course, this is just my humble opinion. Last but not least, let me try to show you the viewing angles of this phone and do a little gaming. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you next time.